Hello Harsha, and thank you very much for joining us on Hello Malaysia. Now, I know only a few other people who have names like yours. There's Bono, Sting, Prince, a couple of other celebrities. I guess you're the next celebrity because you don't have a surname.
Yes, I'm sure my parents planned for that. They knew I was going to be famous, so they just left it at Harsha.
Right. Yeah, is that the story?
I would hope it was, but I think there might have been a mix-up with the IC officer, so let's just leave the first version.
Okay, let's just stick to the first narrative. Well, you're doing well. You're 14. You just turned 15 not so very long ago, and so many things happening in your life now. What we want to talk about is Gen Z. But before we get there, you have your own marketing and branding. What do you call it? Outfit. And you're going out there and doing many things. So how are you so driven at this age?
I wouldn't say I'm a very driven person, but I'm very fortunate to know about things like goal setting, my subconscious mind, and I guess for me, I had a goal, or I have a goal, and that motivates me. I like seeing how people work, seeing how the world at large can benefit from just one person.
So when did you find all this out?
It wasn't like one day I woke up being a kid and said, I am now going to help the world.
No,
I didn't.
Epiphany of sorts and like, oh, this is going to happen from your.
Yeah, I just came from the sky in a dream. The stars were aligned. So, but it started with me. Actually, I went for a talk show, something like just someone speaking, and I was listening to what they were saying, and it was done by this team called ET Ideas. I met my mentor there, Langgo Tiagu, and what he was talking about was how us as people can do amazing things, so extraordinary things, when we know how to engage ourselves, our mind, and focus our thoughts in the right place. And I really like what they were doing because they focus on solving world problems, things like poverty, climate change, and I wanted to play a part in that. But I was 11 when I was there, so of course I didn't suddenly say, sign me up for the next...
This didn't start 6 months ago, it started some years ago.
It started a few years ago.
At 11, a paradigm shift. Okay, then continue with your story.
So, being 11, I didn't straight away jump and be this super driven person. I was actually one of the most introverted people you'd ever meet. My mom thought I was mute for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, so...
I can hardly believe this, but go on.
Yeah, I talk a lot now. So, what happened was, I started applying the things that they were talking about, goal setting, focusing your thoughts.
At the age of 11?
At the age of 11.
Right.
But it was 11-year-old things. So, like, getting a can of Pepsi during dinner. So, that was my biggest accomplishment. Until I started applying it in my academics in my school. At that time, I wanted to get a scholarship to an international school for my secondary education. So that was one of the first major goals that I set. And within 6 months of applying things like thought power awareness and taking the right actions towards it, I actually managed to get that scholarship. So that was worth 150,000 ringgit. And it didn't really occur to me that I could actually get it. Because again, boring, introverted child, my grades were so and so. I wasn't this phenomenal student which everyone talks about.
Are you phenomenal now?
I would like to think so, but that's just my opinion. So, but to see that I, a normal person, could do this, gave me that confidence that I can do other things. So first I got a scholarship, then I started applying it in my grades. From an average student, I started getting better, progressively better. Now I'm a straight A student. I would like to think I top my class. I do sometimes.
Right. Are you one of those who gets upset when you get a B? And
yes, I actually do, but I haven't gotten a B in a while.
Yeah, right.
So when I see, when I see myself get a B, I'm just like,
what's this?
I've never seen this before. Can the alphabet look like that? So yeah, but It wasn't always like that. Again, I'm very normal. I don't do anything extraordinary for a 15-year-old. I just have something that I'm aiming for, have something that I want to do. So I have that in my grades. I think my last exam I sat for international syllabus, so my checkpoint 9, the equivalent of PT3, I got a 6.0 in all of my subjects, which is the highest you can get. So I was quite happy about that. Yay.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Wow. Job well done. Now, you're talking about the subconscious. How much have you tapped the subconscious that you can give us some information about?
The subconscious, I'm sure you'd agree, is a huge topic, so I can't exactly say that I'm a professional in it. I have no PhD in how the mind works, but I think that I've tapped the subconscious in a way which enables me to focus my thoughts on something and achieve the results that I want. Again, I didn't come up with this. I've learned this from my mentor, Elengo, his team at ET Ideas, and I've managed to use my subconscious not only in my academics, but also in other things. So things like setting end goals for getting appointments, meeting CEOs. I remember one time, one thing about subconscious is how you program yourself to get the results you want consistently. So it's not just a one-time thing. So I remember I was reprogramming my subconscious to start setting appointments with people to go and meet their companies and everything and pitch to them the marketing and branding angle that we were looking at from my team at Ascendance.
Right.
And when I started doing that, my subconscious started getting better at setting appointments. So just an example on how I managed to tap in my subconscious. Because a 15-year-old, you wouldn't think is going and meeting CEOs.
A lot of my colleagues would want to speak to you about this, maybe coming to work on time. But that aside, marketing and branding, you do that. You're the head of marketing and branding at Globetrotter Consultancy at 15?
Yes, at 15.
When were you appointed? 13?
Actually, no, 14. But I can see the confusion. It started off because I was actually interning with them. So I was there, not grabbing coffee, but more like writing emails and making pictures for their events and things like that. Until I wrote this one email for their marketing and branding. They were opening up this new department kind of thing for a new client. So I was in charge of writing the email. So they roughly told me what they wanted, but they didn't give me like exact, you need to do this. They just said, we want something like this, can you do it? And they were expecting to edit it and everything. So I wrote this email, and I remember the CEO at that time, she was looking through the email and she said, this is a more corporate email than I could have written. And me being 14, at that time, just like, cool.
Right.
And this was during my school holidays, so I was like, all right.
And you kind of like that.
Yeah, I like that corporate thing. Like even sometimes people say the way I dress with jacket and everything.
So you like to answer people with text stating that it's duly noted with thanks.
Yes.
You like stuff like that.
I say noted. My classmates go mad about it. They just like, what does that mean? Did you write it down or something? So it started with one email, and then it started with me following their CEO for appointments. Learning the tips and tricks of marketing, and since I was one of the first few people who were in that department, they said, if you were 30, I would have given you the job, but I'm discriminating you based on your age, so that's why you aren't head of marketing and branding. But the CEO, open-minded lady, said, take the job, you can do it. So there you go.
Congratulations once again. Now,
thank you.
What's interesting is a lot of us say, or a lot of my peers, my vintage, say that people of your generation are sort of disengaged, sort of caught up in their own world, narcissistic to some extent. What are your thoughts on people of your generation? And you do a lot for your peers and people who study with you, people who, work with you. You motivate them, you speak to them, you do all these things. Now, when you hear all these stories coming up about you, or coming up about your generation, what comes to mind?
In the beginning, because again I do a lot of work for my generation, and I am from my generation, so of course I'm biased towards it. I used to get upset because of my generation isn't that narcissistic, says me. But I come to realize that they do have their points, and many times my generation can be quite disengaged. The common theme that parents and those from other generations look at my generation and says, you're always on your smartphone, you're always on your tab. And to be honest, that's quite true. When I was 11, but when I was 11, I was that kind of kid too. when I didn't have a goal, when I didn't know my true potential, which I still don't know the full extent, but when I wasn't given the opportunity to do what I love, I was like that too. I was on my tab, not really paying attention to what people were telling me, not really engaging in conversation, scaring people with my silence and things like that.
So how is this a problem? You know, if they're on their phones and doing their own thing, they're still communicating in some way or form. Yeah,
I agree with that, but I look at it this way. A lot of people from the older generations prioritize face-to-face communication. And as much as I believe that digital communication is the future, we cannot neglect the other generations, and we cannot force them to conform to what we do. We can only understand that, and to live in this current world, we need to adapt to that as well. As much as they are taking effort to adapt to the future of communication through tabs and iPads and same thing, we have to
So when you go and talk to people, how do you ascertain who's disengaged and who needs help, and how they need to be helped?
We don't really assess people. Whoever wants to work with us, or whoever's parents think that they should work with us, we work with them. It's normally, there's no formal procedure, but we spend time with them. We talk to them. We see what kind of person are you? Are you the kind of person who's always on your phone? Are you the kind of person who wants to do something, who's on their seat and just wants to get at it? And then we see how we can work with them in what they love doing. And
what are people your age saying with regards to your generation's future now? The world population is rising. It's the highest it's ever been. It's going to rise even higher, and it's scary because there won't be much opportunities. Now, does your generation feel that pressure?
I don't know whether my generation really thinks about that. Bear in mind, most of us are still in school. So.
Right. But we don't talk to each other, you know, just about going to college, about, you know, tertiary education now costs an arm and a leg, maybe 2 arms and a leg. Yeah, but
I think on one hand, there's a lot of them who don't see this problem. There are a lot of youngsters actually caught up in their own worlds, like me as well. So we don't really see how the outside world is like unless we're exposed to it. On the other hand, we have a bit more of a pessimistic look towards these kind of things. Like a lot of youngsters, I'm sure you know, they have this fight the system kind of attitude, and they just don't want to...
Anything anti-establishment is sexy to them, you think so?
Yeah, anything anti-establishment, which I can see how thrilling it is. Like, I agree at some points. But I think it's about coming to a balance, knowing how the world outside is looking at things, and keeping your optimism to a certain extent.
So you're a co-founder of Ascendance now. Ascendance goes out and does a lot of work with young people. Tell me about Ascendance.
So Ascendance is basically a team of 4 youngsters from ages 15 to 21. Actually, no, 20. Okay. So what we do is we basically get youngsters, other people around our age and younger, to see what it is they love doing and how they can start doing that right now, whatever age they are, whatever background they come from, while balancing it with their academics and their studies as well. So we get everyday youngsters to do things that are normally thought of as impossible for their age.
You're currently working with about 300 people, and how's that going? Are you seeing positive results working with these boys and girls?
Yes, we are. Overall, we do a lot of programs, a lot of, again, meeting people and mentoring them personally. All 300 are actually directly mentored by the 4 of us. And it's very interesting to see these people progress and change their characters. They do much better in academics as well. So that's hands down, that happens, we hope. And it's also nice to see their characters evolve as people. So shy, timid people, people who are normally so quiet you can't hear them, to loud, outspoken, creative people who don't mind.
What's the tipping point? You know, you speak to people, sometimes it goes through one ear, it comes out through the other. But everyone has a tipping point. So I'm sure with this 300 people that you're working with, boys and girls that you're working with, you have kind of found a tipping point already.
It's different for everyone, but I can share maybe an example. Would that help? Okay. So there's this one girl that we work with. She's the very silent type. Even when she speaks, we can't really hear her. That's how quiet her voice is. And in the beginning, we thought that whatever we were saying to her, probably she just zoned out and didn't get any of it. But when we started seeing what it is she loved working on, we started talking to her, so what it is that you like doing? and she came back to us with answers. Slowly but surely, her confidence built. Again, it's not an overnight thing. It's not like one day you're quiet, next day you're an extrovert, you're contributing and everything. It just started with she saying something like, I want to try this. Can you guys help me? And that was after a few months of knowing her. And then we were like, all right, let's work on this. And slowly as we built that thing that she was working on, she started coming up with more ideas. And it's comfortable talking to us because we're all around the same age. So she started coming up with more ideas. She started being more outspoken, more sure of herself.
Right.
Through us guiding her. And now she's actually a very creative young person who's not afraid to express herself and state her opinion.
Now, coming back to you, what's it like for a 15-year-old who's intelligent, who was introverted, now has seen the change or seen the light, so to speak, and has moved on to do bigger and better things? Now, do you still do things 15-year-olds do, or do you listen to Light FM?
I listen to Spotify. Joking.
Okay.
I would say
that's a brand mention, okay? That's okay. Please. Okay, so you were saying?
I'd say I do both. Like, I don't completely stop being 15-year-old and put on my corporate jacket and sit with perfect table manners.
Right.
No, I'm still a kid. I make bad jokes like all the time. I go to school. I enjoy school actually at times. It's fun.
At times. That's tough.
I enjoy school most of the time.
Okay, most of the time. Just giving you a hard time here. Okay.
And I do watch movies. I am panicking over my favorite TV shows at times. But most of my focus, most of my energy goes into the work that I do for the community, with Ascendance, with Globetrotter Consultancy. Why? It's not because I decided, okay, from now on I shall be a corporate person. Corporate people do not watch TV. No, it's because it's genuinely so much fun to work on the things that I love doing. It doesn't feel like I've stopped being a 15-year-old.
So what has happened is you've seen big changes in your life, but that hasn't changed the person you are
I'm still 15. In fact, I'm just a 15-year-old doing weird stuff. That's about it.
Now, Ascendance, there are 4 of you, and you're a founding member of Ascendance. Tell us about the other 3.
The other 3, all right. They're all, as I said, under age of 21. So I'll start with our team leader. She's 20. Her name is Madhura. She's an amazing person. She's an accountant, actually. So she's being groomed as a junior partner to take over an accounting firm. And she's still studying. So she's still in college. She's still taking classes. But at the same time, she's working with actual people, helping businesses make money, because she's being groomed to be a junior partner. So that's the things they do. The other member we have, Hira. She's 18, also my sister, sadly. She's a singer-songwriter. So she's into music. She does music videos for companies and their marketing as well. But at the same time, she's a performer. She performs nearly every week. She's been in the Philippines. She's constantly playing around KL. People in Penang call her all the time to perform gigs there. So she slowly released her singles, music videos and things like that. So for an 18-year-old who's normally been told to pick what they want to do with the rest of their life, she's very sure of herself, very confident, and progressing in the things that she loves doing. She's very passionate about and very talented in music. And then Sanit, who is 17. He's very, very cool because he's actually a film director at age 17.
Wow.
So while sitting for his SPM and stressing out about his exams at times, he's not really that stressed, to be honest, but while doing that, he's also making videos, editing, coming up with scripts, looking at how to phrase stories for companies, he works with this online broadcast channel called ET Boost as well at times. He has a segment there. And he's just a lot into film. And for a 17-year-old who's normally going and watching movies, he's actually starting to produce his own.
Fantastic. And like, all 4 of you are so driven, going out there, you've got a head start, because you already realize early in life that you need to get these things done in order to be a successful person. If all else fails, you'll be a happy person because you started early. Now, when you look at those of us who are wasting our time in our 40s, in our 30s,
I don't think so.
I'm sure you see that sometimes, and you when you speak to people, you know that a lot of people have gone through life with a lot of regret, and sadly never spent enough time doing what they want to do. What can you tell us? What can you tell us with regards to this?
I don't really feel like I'm in the position to comment so much on that, but I can tell you this. Working at Globetrotter Consultancy, they have this program called BHBS, which a lot of people of the older generation actually attend to get connected back to their hearts. So regardless of how old they are or whatever walk of life they're from, they want to see what it is life has for them. And from looking at people there, from looking at people all over the world, I realized something. It's never too late to change. Of course, it's good if you start early with the youngsters like what I'm doing. But I feel like people always have the opportunity to go back to what it is they love doing and be genuinely happier people. They just need to take the step towards that.
Right. So people have to take a step towards going back and doing what they want to do.
Yep.
Now, for those of us who are not the type who like to attend seminars and talks on this, how can we do it on our own? You know, for using you as a model, what can you tell us for us to be able to do it on our own?
I've never been in that position, but maybe finding a group of people who are already doing that would help you out to be in that environment of people who are already doing what they love.
But I'm sure you've met people your age who can't do that, and you've dispensed advice to these people. Now, what similar advice can be used for people like me?
Similar advice in what sense?
I mean, not regretting having not done the thing you love, having not done what you set out to do, you know, just ambling away or ambling through life, so to speak. Now, most of us is just wake up, we go to work, we come back home. We don't work on our dreams. You know, there were some of us who were musicians, some of us who wanted to be martial artists, some of us wanted to be writers. We never did it because it was work. So what can you tell us?
I would say set a goal. Set a goal to be happy, to be healthy, and to work on your passion. You might want to put a monetary goal there if you want to, because that makes sense. You might want that. But set a goal, because that's where it started for me. I had a group of people who supported me, who showed me that how powerful my thoughts really are, my subconscious is. And setting a goal setting is actually an easy way to engage your subconscious. It's not an easy journey, but it's a start. So set a goal, give your all to it, focus your thoughts, and hope for the best.
So you're a person who definitely has long-term and short-term goals. Now, what's your long-term goal, say in 5 years from now?
Say in 5 years from now.
Where do you want to see yourself?
Right now I'm
It's a very cliche question.
It's a very cliche. When you're 15, everyone asks you that. So it's like, But what I see in 5 years from now is, because right now I'm working with youths through Ascendance. We're working with youngsters. We see them change and start working on the things that they love doing. So I see 5 years from now, the people that I'm working with have worked with more people. And that we as Ascendance, not just the 4 of us, but the huge group of us in the future, are able to engage more younger generations to do what they love. Engaging that disengaged generation.
Right.
Reigniting that so-called wasted potential. And being able to do that for as many people, most of the youths in Malaysia, and if we can, the entire Generation Z out there. So igniting that potential.
Igniting that potential within a generation, your generation, so to speak. Now, we've got a few minutes left on the show, and I'm sure with what you've done, there's just so many things to ask you. Another hour won't be able to accomplish that. But with you doing what you're doing right now, and also with all the other things you have in store for yourself, when you look at when you look at kids without opportunities, kids who are not being able to go to school simply because the parents can't afford to send them to school, when you see things like this, what does it do to you? You know, how are you trying to help out in areas like this?
There's actually one of the children's homes that we're working with. Many of them, just an example, they can't go to school, or they don't have the right drive when they are in school. And they are homeschooled because they don't have the right documents to even participate in everyday things that we take for granted. And looking at kids like that, it makes me feel like I need to do my best. I need to bring what Ascendance is doing to as many youngsters out there. Right now we're working with companies, we're working with organizations to engage these people. So hope is not lost for them. but it makes me feel like I need to work harder to reach them.
Right.
So they just need to hope for the best, as I said, take that one step towards doing what they love, setting their goals, and learning how to use their subconscious. And Ascendance will be there to guide them and help them out with the right help that we get from ET Ideas, from organizations that we work with. A lot of NGOs have been supportive of helping these kind of youngsters. A lot of institutions have been helpful. Companies, we work with them as branding partners, marketing and branding, to engage these youngsters, this youth, because the real potential actually is in them.
Right. So for all of us, TV stations and radio stations are jumping from one foot to the other, trying to engage your generation. What advice do you have for us?
I don't know actually, but I would say get more speakers like me lah.
Get more speakers like you. Okay, that's one. Now, I mean, you said that everything we do needs to be connected to a cause earlier. You did say that.
Yes. So I would say, from my point of view, work with the cause. See something which you can give back to the younger generation, and engage them in the things that they like doing. A lot of youngsters nowadays are passionate about saving the planet, are passionate about engaging their peers, striving in togetherness, working as a whole towards the betterment of our species, towards the betterment of our planet. So I feel like as not just media stations, but any company out there, if they can get on board with that idea, with the idea of helping people to help themselves, then the younger generation will love that.
Right.
Most people do want to see good, and they want to know how they can be part of it, and they want to know that other people are helping them be able to do that.
Right. On that note, Harsha, it was a pleasure and an honor having you on the show.
Thank you
we hope to have you back in, say, 5 years from now. Okay, we'll have you next year. Thank you very much for joining us on
Thank
Hello
you very
Malaysia.
much.
That was good, yeah.